Let's jump right in. Right now, all over the world, there's a massive hidden money drain happening in restaurants. We're talking about businesses losing huge amounts of cash every single day. And the crazy part? It's not because their food is bad. It's actually because of badly designed menus. Today, in this explainer, we're going to look at how AI has literally become the ultimate cheat code to fix this. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, why on earth would a restaurant pay someone else to do this? Well, think about it from their perspective. Restaurant owners are constantly in the weeds, right? They're sweating in the kitchen, managing staff, dealing with endless supply shortages. They just don't have the time to sit down and master advanced artificial intelligence tools. And you know what? That is exactly where you step in. We're going to break down how you can use AI to completely optimize these menus, and how you can package the whole thing as a highly profitable, super beginner-friendly B2B service.
I want you to really think about this for a second. Why do great restaurants, places with incredible chefs, amazing vibes, and genuinely delicious food, why do they still go out of business? Because it happens all the time, right? The harsh reality is that excellent food just doesn't automatically equal a profitable business. There's actually a silent killer lurking on the tables of almost every independent restaurant out there. It's their poorly designed, completely unoptimized menu. That one piece of paper is dictating exactly what customers buy, what expensive ingredients end up spoiling in the back fridge, and ultimately, whether that restaurant survives the year.
Okay, let's dive into this. The global food service industry is tough. Operators are managing razor-thin net margins. We are talking an average of just 3 to 9%. When your margins are that unbelievably tight, every single menu choice is absolutely critical. If a customer orders a dish that has a really high food cost but a low contribution margin, which, by the way, is just the actual dollar amount the restaurant gets to keep in its pocket after paying for the raw ingredients, the restaurant essentially wastes that seat. They lose the opportunity to make real money. And if a batch of ingredients goes bad because they're only used in one dish that nobody ever orders, that loss comes straight out of that tiny, tiny profit sliver.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the menu money drain. Then, we'll get into Menu Psychology 101. Third, we'll walk through the actual AI optimization workflow. Fourth, we'll talk about packaging the service to sell. Fifth, we'll go over the challenges and limitations you need to know. And finally, number 6, exactly how you can get started.
All right, Section 1, the menu money drain. Because before we can start playing around with AI to fix things, we really have to understand the massive financial leaks happening in these businesses. You simply can't optimize what you don't understand, right?
The data on this is wild. Food waste alone is costing the average restaurant between $1,500 and $2,000 every single month. I mean, picture a local cafe owner who pours their absolute heart into their business, only to end every single week throwing literal garbage bags full of spoiled produce and expired meat straight into the dumpster out back. That is thousands of dollars of lost revenue just rotting away. And why does this happen? Because traditional, clunky menus and terrible inventory tracking lead to massive inefficiencies. A restaurant might be hoarding expensive ingredients for a dish that literally nobody orders. Or, the flip side, they constantly run out of their most popular items, which just completely frustrates their customers. Now, AI can directly address this by predicting demand and crunching sales data, but to really truly fix a menu, we have to look at how the human brain works first.
Which brings us to Section 2, Menu Psychology 101. This is all about the science of how people order. We're going to establish the proven psychological levers that we will eventually use AI to manipulate.
So, decades of eye tracking and behavioral research have actually given us these ironclad menu design rules. First up is the golden triangle. When we open a menu, our eyes naturally dart to the middle, then up to the top right, and then over to the top left. So your highest margin items absolutely must go in those spots. Next is the paradox of choice. Look, we've all been there, sweating over a menu that reads like a novel. Anything more than 7 items per category completely overwhelms the guest, so they usually just panic and default to the cheapest, safest option instead of exploring. Also, you gotta drop the dollar sign. Why? Because a standalone number feels way less like real money. It actively reduces the psychological pain of paying by detaching the food from the feeling of handing over cold, hard cash. Oh, and stop right-aligning prices in neat little columns. People will just scan straight down that line to find the cheapest number. Finally, use generous white space. It signals premium quality rather than just cramming everything onto the page like a diner from the 90s.
And this brilliantly illustrates the framing effect. Research consistently shows that simply changing a description from a boring word like chicken to something evocative like grandma's home-style chicken actually increases orders. And here is the craziest part. It even increases post-meal satisfaction, even when the food coming out of the kitchen is completely identical. Words matter a lot. They set expectations and they build anticipation before the customer even takes their first bite. And later on in this explainer, we'll see exactly how you can use AI to rewrite dozens of these descriptions at scale, literally in seconds.
Now let's combine that psychology with cold, hard data. This right here is the menu engineering matrix. When you analyze sales and recipe costs, every single dish is going to fall into one of 4 boxes. First, you have your stars. These are highly profitable and highly popular. You want to highlight these using that golden triangle we talked about. Next are the plow horses. These are super popular but low profit. For these, you need to carefully raise the price just a bit or slightly reduce the portion sizes. Then we have puzzles. High profit but super unpopular. These guys need better, mouth-watering descriptions or just better placement on the page. And finally, dogs, low profit, unpopular. You just remove them entirely. Cut them loose. Historically, categorizing all this required mind-numbing spreadsheets. But today, AI does it instantly.
All right, Section 3, the AI optimization workflow. So, how do we actually execute all of this? Let's move into the fun part and look at exactly how a complete beginner can use AI tools to perform this incredibly complex analysis.
Here is the simple, beginner-friendly pipeline that you can run for any client. And let me be clear, absolutely no graphic design skills are required for this. Step 1. You send the restaurant an intake form and you collect their point of sale data. That's just a raw data export of what they've sold. Step 2. You run that raw data through AI profitability analysis tools to find those hidden margins. Step 3. You use AI to generate stunning, mouth-watering food visuals for their highest margin items. And Step 4. You simply deliver a final PDF report. Notice what we're doing here. You are not redesigning their physical printed menu. You're delivering actionable data-backed insights in a clean PDF that they can just hand right over to their existing printer or implement themselves.
The real secret here is your tech stack. You'll use a platform like Mise to automatically connect their sales data directly to their recipe costs. That instantly identifies those stars and dogs we just categorized. Then, instead of telling the owner they need to hire a $3,000 professional food photographer, you use Zsky AI. With Zsky, you literally just type a text prompt based on the recipe's ingredients, and boom, within seconds, it outputs a photorealistic, insanely appetizing image of their top dish. And get this, adding just a few high-quality photos to a menu can boost an item's sales by up to 30%. You can also leverage platforms like Uppoll, though, to find missed upsell opportunities and parallel AI to actually predict future demand trends. You essentially become an entire high-end consulting agency, but you're powered by just a couple of AI subscriptions.
Moving to Section 4, packaging the service. Let's pivot to the business model side of things. How do you actually monetize this new workflow as a B2B service for these restaurants?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the total disruption of the traditional pricing model. Traditional, old-school restaurant consultants will charge $2,000, sometimes way more, just for a basic menu analysis. And they take weeks to do it, poring over manual spreadsheets and interviewing the staff. But because your AI workflow automates all of that heavy lifting, you can offer a comprehensive AI menu service for around $500. For the restaurant owner, that return on investment is a complete no-brainer. And for you, because the AI does the actual work so fast, your effective hourly rate is absolutely fantastic.
And you know, it's not even just about the lower price, it's about unparalleled speed. While those traditional consultants are dragging their feet for weeks, your AI workflow turns around actionable, high ROI reports in just 3 to 4 days. In an industry where food costs are literally fluctuating every single week, getting real-time, rapid insights is a massive selling point for these owners. And for you, that speed means you can easily take on 3, 4, or even 5 clients a week as a side hustle. It makes your potential earnings incredibly scalable.
Section 5. Challenges and limitations. Because let's be completely transparent here, it's not all pure magic. We need to look at the real-world hurdles you're definitely going to face when pitching or executing this service.
One major factor you have to consider is consumer perception. One of the more advanced things AI can do is dynamic pricing. That means changing prices based on demand, sort of like Uber surge pricing, but for a burger during the Friday lunch rush. But research from Linnaeus University shows this can backfire super quickly. Customers often feel totally manipulated and develop strong unfairness perceptions if that pricing strategy isn't totally transparent. So, if you recommend dynamic pricing to a client in your report, you have to ensure the changes feel grounded in reality and offer genuine value. Otherwise, it just leads to terrible word of mouth that ends up hurting the business long term.
Operationally speaking, your biggest hurdle is always going to be the raw data itself. If a restaurant's POS system is just a total mess, or they aren't accurately tracking their ingredient costs, your AI tools are going to have a really hard time generating accurate contribution margins. Remember the golden rule: garbage in, garbage out. You are also inevitably going to face pushback from old-school owners who rely purely on their gut instinct rather than actual data. Additionally, as a beginner just starting out, you have to remember to factor in the monthly cost of these enterprise AI software subscriptions into your own business overhead just to make sure you're actually staying profitable.
Finally, Section 6, how to get started. Knowing all of those pros and cons, how do you actually launch this thing? Let's look at the exact first steps you need to take to get this side hustle off the ground today.
So the crucial point is this: 70% of global restaurants are independent. Do not go after the massive corporate chains. Target the local cafes, the family diners, the neighborhood bistros. Pitch them a simple, free audit where you look at just their top 3 selling items. Run those specific items through your AI, generate one stunning, completely free image using Zsky AI, and use an AI language model to rewrite one description using that psychology we talked about. Show them the immediate potential profit increase right there on paper. Once they clearly see that value and they realize you actually know what you're doing, you can easily upsell them on the full $300 to $500 optimization report for the entire menu.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with this. The very next time you sit down at a restaurant and open a menu, I challenge you to look at it totally differently. Don't just look at it as a hungry consumer trying to figure out what's for dinner. Look at it as an AI-powered optimizer. Where are your eyes being guided? Are the prices lined up in a neat, easily scannable little column? Is there way too much choice overwhelming the whole table? A menu is essentially just an algorithm, and now you have the exact tools to rewrite it. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.